once you hit the button.
Yep, go for it.
And maybe Shake, if you don't mind, just muting your audio.
Yes.
Then we don't have to worry about any background noise. Great. Thanks. So welcome everyone to a webinar that Jess will be giving on the new tool that's it's being launched, the mHealth Assessment and Planning for Scale tool, the MAPS tool. And we're really excited to start rolling this out. It's something that WHO, Johns Hopkins University, and UNF have been working on for almost a year. And we're at the point where we want to get it out there into the community. So the grantees will be the first ones who have a chance to test it out, and Jess will describe more about the tool after this. But the tool is very much informed by the experiences of the grantees, and we think will benefit your projects as you're working along the pathway to scale. But we also think it will benefit the wider mHealth community, and is something that we can contribute to the wider knowledge of the community, and hopefully something that will help projects sort of follow the same pathway to scale that your projects have been able to. I think being some of the more successful projects in the community right now. So hopefully this tool will help others sort of follow in your footsteps. So just a quick overview of the run of show for the webinar. Jess will give a presentation, and I think throughout the presentation there will be a few opportunities to ask any burning questions. Otherwise, please hold those till the end, and we'll have about 10 minutes or so at the end for any additional questions. And then we'll just sort of wrap up, and I can give a few more details about the meeting in Malawi on Monday, May 10th or 11th. The 11th, yeah. Maybe with that, Jess, do you want to go ahead and tell us more about MAPS?
Yeah, thanks, Francis. Can everyone see the PowerPoint that I've shared?
Yeah.
Okay. So just before I get started, I'm going to keep all of the participants on mute just so that the background noise doesn't interrupt the presentation. But if you want to ask a question, there'll be a few points where I'll pause. If you have any questions about the slides I've shown, you can either unmute your microphone or just type out a question in the chat, and then we can read it. So I believe I know Christopher Shake. I don't think we've met. My name's Jess. I've been working for the past year or so on developing this tool in collaboration with people at WHO, UNF, and many of the IWG grantees. So to give a bit of background about the MAPS tool, the current literature surrounding scaling mHealth includes mainly recommendations that are heavily weighted towards broad systems level changes. This means there's a lack of specific and actionable guidelines that projects can actually take control of. And there aren't any indicators at this point in the field for assessing scalability or a project's progress along the pathway of scale. So the MAPS tool was developed to fill these gaps by providing a self-assessment instrument designed specifically for projects to improve their capacity to pursue scale. So it allows project teams to assess the innovation scalability or the progress that they've made in scale up, and then to identify the areas that require further attention. So a quick description of how the tool's been developed. It's been a year-long iterative process with a lot of different methods, including lit review, site visits, consultations with people in the mHealth community and experts, and workshops that we've had over the past 6 months or so. And here is a another way of just demonstrating the process that we've gone through. The first stage was the tool development, and we had several drafts of the tool that came out of that. The second stage was refining the tool, which we've been doing over the past few months with a review panel with several IWG grantees. And now we are at the stage of tool validation. So that's what we're asking you all to participate in. And this will be the pilot application of the tool. And our goal is that from here, we'll arrive at the final version of the tool that will be ready to be released. And so our vision of the final product is that it'll be available in print version and on an online platform. We're planning on having a sort of soft launch during the conference next week. And it will have a user guide that has tips and lessons learned, links to other resources. And hopefully the online platform will be designed in a way that people can contribute their experiences and stories, so it'll be sort of a dynamic, evolving tool. So any questions at this point before I go into a bit more detail about what the tool is? Okay. So the goals of the MAP tool, you can think of them as sort of three general goals. First, it's an assessment tool to assess scalability by reviewing key considerations and activities. Second, it's a planning tool to help projects plan for future activities once they've identified the areas of weakness or that need some improvement. And third, it's a tool to help projects improve on their progress through scale. And so this little visual here is to show that scale up is not just one isolated outcome, but rather an ongoing process. So the idea is that this tool could be used at several points throughout a project's scale up process. So they could continually return to it and assess areas that need further attention and then make plans for future efforts. So the tool is structured. It may be a bit confusing at first, but this is sort of a view of what the conceptual framework behind the tool is. So we have 6 axes of scale, which are the overarching categories of areas that all project teams will really need to address when thinking about and embarking on scale up. Then within each axis of scale, there's a set of domains, about 2 or 3 per axis, which are the specific drivers of scale. And within each domain, there are factors, which are the criteria that we're using in the assessment tool. So here's an overview of the 6 axes: groundwork, partnerships, financial health, technology and architecture, operations, and monitoring and evaluation. And I'm not going to read through all of the definitions of the axes here, but you all do hopefully have this PowerPoint that I sent earlier today, so you can reference it. And this is also in the document that I sent out with the actual tool. And here's another display of the 6 axes, and this one also shows the domains that are within each axis. And this is how the tool is structured, by the axes and the domains. So the tool itself operationalizes the factors that are within the domains. And so the tool is made up of a series of self-assessment questions that are structured like this one here. So there's an overall question and then a series of sub-statements that get at the specific considerations or procedures or activities that are reflective of the concept in the question in purple there. And so for each sub-statement, there's a set of 5 response items: know, in progress, performed, documented, and NA. And there's more of an explanation of this within the user guide. Oops. Sorry. And so are there any questions at this point before I move into the last section where I'll discuss what's going to be happening with the validation process? Okay. So now we're getting into what your role will be, hopefully over the next week. So as we move towards finalizing the tool, we've invited you to pilot it. And we're hoping that by learning from your feedback and experiences using the tool, we can make it as appropriate and useful as possible. So as I showed in that slide towards the beginning with the different stages, from this stage, this last stage of tool finalization, we'll be revising the tool based on your experiences to get it to its most appropriate version. So the materials that I've provided you with include one large document that has two main parts. The user guide section has an introduction to MAPS, description of how to use the tool, and then short one-page descriptions of each of the 6 axes of scale. And then the tool itself is the sort of the second half of that document. So this has a series of self-assessment questions that pertain to each of the factors. So, sorry, this is a bit repetitive. I already explained what these options are. And if you're wondering sort of what each of these means, you can refer to the user guide in the section called How to Use the Tool, and it provides a bit more detail on what we're thinking with these gradients for answering the statements. So some things that we'll consider as we try out the tool is, do the questions make sense? Is there anything missing? Is it easy to use? How long does it take to complete it, since we're hoping that this is something that won't take project teams too long? And then what would you change to make the tool more appropriate to project teams like yours that would be using it in the future? So here are the plans for the May 11th workshop. I'll wait for Francis to comment on this when I finish up. And lastly, I just want to say thank you so much for participating in the piloting process for the tool. And now we'll have a few minutes for Q&A, but if you think of any other questions over the coming week, you can just email me, and we can either discuss the questions over email or set up a call or anything like that. So I guess I'll pause now to see if anyone, any of the participants have questions. And just as a reminder, you can just press the little microphone button to unmute yourself if you want to.
Okay, so Chris had one question coming in through the chat.
Okay.
What are the timelines with regards to piloting the tool? Like, when do we start? When do we finish? Should we wait to see if there are any 2 other questions and then we can answer them all at once, or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, maybe we should just go ahead with this question for now. Others, feel free to type out your question, or if there's a moment of pause, you feel free to unmute yourself and ask as well.
Yeah, so the timeline, we're hoping that all of the projects can pilot the tool within the next few days. It hopefully won't take very long. We're thinking hopefully around 30 minutes to go through all of the self-assessment questions that make up the tool. And like I said, I've also provided you with more information in the document that I sent out earlier today. So that's sort of optional reading material to give more context for the tool. But we hope that it doesn't take too much time. So the idea is that then on Monday, next Monday, May 11th, we'll have time set aside in the workshop to discuss your experiences and hear your suggestions. And then we're hoping to spend a couple weeks, during the last couple weeks of May, revising the tool one last time, and then hopefully releasing it in early June. And I see that some people joined maybe partway through the presentation, and just to let you know, we will be sending out a recording, so you can listen to that if that would be helpful.
Okay. Thanks.
And just to add to what Jess mentioned earlier on about what we're seeking to get from you at the Monday workshop, it's not necessarily the results of the questions or like how you performed on the actual question, whether you are in planning or in progress or have completed certain actions, but it's more to the general overall feedback about the tool itself, and how it can be improved.
Yeah, thanks, Tigges.
Jess, maybe one thing that would be helpful is just because it is kind of a short turnaround for projects, to let them know who the different types of people on their team that they would need to sort of loop in to help fill out this tool are.
Yeah. So the majority of the tool we're envisioning, project team members, project manager could fill out. There may be some other team members that you want to get to fill out some specific questions, specifically the fourth axis, which is on technology and architecture, may require input from the IT person on your teams. And maybe if you have specific people that are in charge of sort of financing for the third axis on financial health, that would probably also be helpful. But that's also something that we're curious to hear when we get your feedback next week, is how much of it did make sense for an overall project manager, members on the team, and how much of the tool requires specialized knowledge. So if there aren't any other questions now, like I said, you can email me questions at any. Francis, did you want to share your last portion of the presentation?
Sure, and sorry, my screen is frozen, so I'm using Carolyn's now. I don't know, I think you had that slide on the workshop. I don't know if you want to pull that up again. But yeah, I mean, I think you guys have kind of mentioned this a few times, but as you all know, we will have a workshop in Lilongwe on Monday, May 11th, and it'll be held at the Sunbird Capitol Hotel. And it's going to run from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll have lunch there, I think light breakfast as well. But this will really just be an opportunity to bring grantees together after we've filled out or gone through the process of the MAPS tool. A chance to provide feedback to our team as we're sort of moving into this validation phase for the tool. But also, I think we'll plan to have these structured discussions around the 6 different axes, and we'll be reaching out in the next couple days to identify each of you and kind of pair your projects to an axis to sort of help lead that discussion on Monday. Nothing really for you to prepare for that, just we'll kind of go through each, and you can kind of share maybe what you've realized about your project after having gone through the financial health axis and things like that. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. We'll send around an agenda shortly. But yeah, I mean, we really need you to fill out or to go through the tool ahead of that workshop. I don't think it'll really work if you haven't had a chance to try it out. So I know it's a short turnaround, but like Jess said, hopefully this won't take too long for projects to complete. I think we're aiming for about an hour, and we'll see how realistic that is. Once we get feedback from you. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And then we'll be around for the meeting from May 12th to 15th, and I know Jess will be available if you need to schedule any additional time with her. If you want to run through any additional feedback with her, and then the people that will be attending the meeting are myself, Carolyn, Garrett, and Tigist, and Jess as well. And so if something comes up as you're going through the tool, and just a big area of TA that you realize you need, that's something you can also schedule a side meeting with us to sort of work through while we're there in the long way as well. So yeah, we're really looking forward to getting this in front of you and to get feedback from real projects, and yeah, it should be a good workshop. Are there any questions about the workshop itself?
Can you hear me?
Hey, Jasmine, it kind of sounds like you are underwater in a cave.
Sorry, I think we have very poor internet. I'm actually using a dongle now.
Okay, yeah,
I'm sorry, I joined you a bit. So I joined a bit late. I wanted to find out what exact time are we meeting on Monday in Lilongwe? Sorry, I joined a bit late, so you might have said this already.
That's okay. Yeah, it'll be 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Monday.
Okay.
And then Jasmine, because you're doing Lions Den as well, that will be in the afternoon, just for, I think, from 1 to 3.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Any other questions that you thought of?
Yeah, I have one last question.
Sure.
So I just wanted to find out if, other than our contributions during the workshop, are there any other activities that you would expect grantees to participate in?
For the Malawi meeting in general, or for the MAPS tool?
For the Malawi meeting in general.
Right. Yeah, so we're also planning a reception for Wednesday night. And so we'll be sending out invites for that, but it'll be mainly the grantees, and we'll have a representative from NORAD, possibly, still needs to be confirmed. But yeah, so that'll be like a smaller networking type reception. But other than that, I don't think that there's anything else.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So if there aren't any other questions, I will just finish up by thanking you once again for participating in this final stage of the tool validation. I'm really excited to see you and meet those of you that I haven't met before next Monday, and to hear about your experiences trying out the tool. And I'm sure you'll all have great suggestions for improving it further. And we'll be sending out the recording of the webinar, and my email address is on the slides.
Great.
Okay, Jessica, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you.
We have 10 minutes. Leave me. All right.
That was a good